Hello, and welcome to Hanratty on Karate. I'd like to continue at the series where we were discussing 20 precepts of Funakoshi. Now, these are not strict set-in-stone rules. They're more like guidelines or advisories. And though Funakoshi never made a comment on the 20 precepts or tried to explain them, a lot of other senior karateka have done. Nakasone, for example, Chokomatobu, they've just explained a few of them. To me, this is like an enlarged version of the Dojo Kun, and we have 5 rules in our Dojo Kun, and the 20 precepts go a little bit further than the 5 rules that you have in your Dojo Kun. Some dojos bring them down to 1 word for each of the Dojo Kun rules. In our dojo, we recite them in Japanese. Now, when you're thinking of these 20 precepts, some of them may sound and feel a little out of date. And that's understandable. Funakoshi was born in the 19th century, and his background was Okinawan. And he was a gentleman of Okinawan. He was a school teacher. So he had a very genteel background and quite a genteel way of thinking. Okinawan have a different religion than the mainland. It's not vastly different. It's still Shinto, but it's in a more animistic form. They also encourage Buddhism, and a lot of the philosophy they embrace is Confucianism. Confucianism, of course, being a philosophy and not a religion. But it's prevalent throughout China and, of course, into the Ryukyus, which is Okinawan is part of. So we were up to number 11 in the precepts. And bear in mind that all of these were written in kanji. Now, kanji is the written language of Japan, and it's the official written language. All official documents and court documents are written in kanji. Japan borrowed the language. They didn't have a written language of their own originally. They borrowed the kanji from the Chinese, where it's called hanji. Hanji just means the language of the Han, which is the largest group in China. They're all pictograms, and there's thousands of pictograms with different meanings. Now, Japan got out of it, and eventually they got to katakana and hiragana, which is a much easier and more phonetic-sounding way of writing. But Funakoshi, being old-fashioned as he was, if you can call it old-fashioned, he stuck to the kanji. So the translations are going to differ from whoever you hear the 20 precepts from, the same as the differences are going to show up in Dojo Kun. But anyway, number 11, it states, karate is like boiling water. Without heat, it returns to its tepid state. So, as I say, he never explained it, but it's almost self-explanatory. If you stop training, you're going to lose your expertise, if you like. It's like anything. You have to keep current with what the job demands, or what your art demands, or what your technique demands. There's different things that have come about. Karate is like everything else. It evolves. And if you don't keep up with the evolution, you're going to get left behind. That's not to say the old way doesn't work. It's just that there's sometimes a better way of doing things. And you all know this from your professional lives or being in school. I mean, when I was in school, nobody'd ever heard of a calculator, all right? I grew up with slide rules. That's how old I am. So working with a calculator is certainly a type of evolution that has certainly brought a lot more benefits. And from the simple calculator, of course, you got into computers and everything else, and which have been great benefits and have enabled everybody to progress more. We have this with karate. If you look at early karate, it's very stiff, very formal, high stances. It evolved when it went into Japan through Gigo Funakoshi. He brought in the high kicks and other stuff like this. But just trying to stick to the precepts here, because I've probably mentioned all that stuff previously. So karate is like boiling water, it's like heat, and this is true. Now, if you don't train, and I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. Sometimes you'll get a student returning to training after a number of years. What will happen is, we recently had a Nidan come back. He was Nidan when he stopped training. He took up a position that took him away. He ended up getting married, got a family and everything else. And then he wanted to come back because he enjoyed training and he was quite good at it. But you cannot come back and expect to be the same as you were when you left. Now, a lot of people do. Oh, I was a black belt, so I'm going to wear a black belt, and they come back on. And then they try to do what they could do before they left. In other words, you take the pan from the heat with the boiling water in it. Don't expect it to be hot in an hour when you come back. Okay, it won't. And it's the same thing with your karate training. I've seen guys get some wicked injuries, torn hamstrings, torn muscles, sprains, strains, injuries because they'll go back into sparring or something. And you're sparring maybe with a guy that's trained every day for the last 10, 15 years. And his timing, his distancing, and his technique is going to be sharper because he's doing it every day. You quit for ever how long. And to me, I'll be honest with you, I think if you skip a year in karate, it'd be much more to your benefit if you came back and started again as a white belt. You'd get a much better understanding of the fundamentals. I know you can do it. I probably know that your kicks and your punches are strong, but you're going to discover different things within the techniques that you think you already know. And you're going to benefit from it, just going over the basics and the fundamentals. Okay, so that would be like a short explanation for number 11 precept. And number 12, do not think of winning, think of not losing. Think rather of not losing is a translation that we have. There's probably different translations from different people. I don't profess to read kanji, okay? These are, just something that you can find the translations of whenever you want, if you look deep enough. What does this mean? Do not think of winning. To me, it means treat everybody minimum as your equal. If you do this, then you're going to at least be able to handle what comes, all right? Now, they may be weaker than you. You don't know. They may not have your techniques, but they may have a bit more spirit. They may be a bit more vicious, a lot more violent. Certainly, if you're being attacked, you can generally suppose that the person attacking you is a lot more violent than you, all right? This is important because there's a psychological edge to this, okay? But what you've got to think of is not losing. Now, this is going to affect how you react or how you perceive a threat. Is not losing, not going to be put at a disadvantage, like being taken unawares. If you get into this mindset where you're not going to be taken unawares, that you're going to attack any bad intentions that the person has, then you're already halfway to not losing. You don't actually have to think of winning, you just have to think, I'm not going to lose. And that's it. Now, what really gets people is they don't calm their mind enough. And we know the saying, Mushin no Sho, and all this, a mind like the moon, or reflect, or, Shoshin, nice state of mind. So what affects your state of mind is basically emotions. And the two biggest emotions that will affect you are anger and fear. But if you think about anger and fear, they shouldn't really affect you. Anger is an emotion that affects you because of something that's already happened. You get angry about something that happened, right? You can't change it. It happened. What you can change is whether you feel angry or not at it. Somebody cuts in front of you in a car, you can be angry for the rest of the day. It's your decision. It's not going to change the fact that he cut in front of you in the car. The other emotion is fear. And fear is always something that hasn't happened. It's fear of the unknown. It hasn't happened yet. Okay? So you have to really take these two emotions as an example of something that's going to restrict your capabilities or your technique. It's going to pull away from how you make a decision. You don't want to make a decision through emotions, either through fear or anger. So try and have a good think about them when you're doing it. Now, I say this, but what happens when I'm teaching beginners and I want to get their spirit up and I want to get them moving faster with more power and everything, I encourage them to get angry. And I encourage them to get angry at me. But not angry about anything I'm done. Maybe just to spite me, if you like, or kind of get their spirit up that way. But anger and fear, two opposing emotions that you need to control. Neither of them you can do anything about. If it's already happened, it's happened. The other one, you can maybe control the conditions that would bring something about that you're afraid of. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So you try to live in the moment. Of course, this is the concept of Zen. I'm not going to go into that because we're working on the 20 precepts right now. Anyway, that was number 12. You don't think of winning, think of not losing. And by controlling anger and fear, it's a good way to start. So, number 13 is make adjustments according to your opponent, or transform yourself according to your opponent. So, unless you hold a distinct advantage, you're miles bigger than him, you got 10 times more muscles, then you're going to have to adapt. If he's bigger than you, you're going to have to put some strategies to work here and adapt to your strengths. And at all times, try to remain flexible so you can change your strategy, if you like, but you're going to change it to your benefit, not to his benefit. Transforming yourself according to your opponent. Very, very quick explanation. Now, number 14. The outcome depends on how one controls truth and fiction. So this is a little ambiguous. If you've ever read Sun Tzu's Art of War, and you should, it's an excellent publication. It's been around for probably thousands of years now. I'll probably be corrected on that. But Sun Tzu, in his Art of War, gives lots of great sayings, okay? And this one seems to fit exactly with precept number 14. The outcome depends on how one controls truth or fiction. And Sun Tzu said, you should always appear strong when you're weak, and you should appear weak when you're strong. Now that is pulling a little bit of fiction into what you're doing, into a confrontation. So you can appear strong so that you can overwhelm the guy with your confidence or brashness or your loud kiais, using your voice as a weapon, kakegoi. Or you can appear weak to try to draw him on when you're strong and you've got something hidden in your bag, okay? I don't mean that literally, like pull your baseball bat out of your backpack. But basically you can eye the guy up and you know the way he moves, the way he talks, whether he's going to be a real threat or whether you're just going to take him out straight away. The other side of that is humility versus arrogance, okay? Appear humble. It may get you out of a fight. Appearing arrogant definitely won't get you out of a fight, but it may subdue him, okay? It may subdue a weaker opponent. So appear strong when you're weak, appear weak when you're strong. So this is the outcome of the battle depends on how one controls truth and fiction. That's my little take on that. So precept 15, think of the opponent's hands and feet as swords. In other words, try not to get hit. Now, this is a little awkward because getting hit and hitting is what it's all about. You're going to get hit. It's how you react when you do get hit. And I'll just say this now. If the opponent has a weapon, don't get into it. Run away. Do anything you can not to get into a conflict. There's very little real techniques that anybody can teach you that are going to get you out of a situation where your opponent has a bladed weapon or even a firearm. You're definitely not going to get out of it. Believe me, I've been in a lot more street fights than I care to admit, and I've been attacked with different things. I've been stabbed and I've been attacked with a big screwdriver, and it's not fun. It frightens the living daylights out of you. It takes a month to get your heart rate down. Luckily enough, I came out of it, mainly because of my sheer bloody mindness. And my reaction to fear is extreme anger. Okay, so if I'm frightened, I'm angry. But just think of your opponent's hands and feet as swords. Try to keep away from them, look for the openings, and don't get yourself hurt. 16. When you step beyond your own gate, you face a million enemies. This is true. I bring all these precepts down to what I personally feel or what they mean to me. What it means is, if you go out of your comfort zone, okay, you're going to find it hard. You may not meet literal enemies, but enemies such as adversity, little challenges that'll come along every day. And it's like you're going to go out of your own home where you're sitting down watching TV or something, or sitting with your girlfriend, or just being comfortable, and then you're going to get your gi, put it in a bag, and go through the dojo door. It's a whole different thing. It's a challenge. It's going to push you, it's going to make you sweat, it's going to make you work. And this is an enemy. You make your own enemy. You are your own worst enemy. But only because you came out of your comfort zone and did something that presented you with a challenge. And that's the way I look on that precept. It gives you challenges. You're not literally got a million enemies outside your door unless you're going into war. Okay? It means go outside your comfort zone. Be aware. build up a state of Zanshin, if you like. And I think I've previously explained what Zanshin is. And you're going to find that you should look forward to your challenges. You welcome a challenge. You defeat it, you're going to feel better. You're going to get a great sense of achievement when you get a completion of a technique that's hard, or spar with somebody that's above your rank, or you feel is better than you, or younger, or faster, or bigger, or stronger. All of these are challenges, and you can look on this as getting out of your comfort zone and facing a million enemies, or going beyond your own gate. Your own gate is your comfort zone. A million enemies is everything that's outside of it that's going to challenge you throughout your life. Number 17, Kamae is for beginners. Later, stand-in Shisentai. So what this is everybody's very stiff and everything else. Now, Kamae is your on-guard position, and I spend a lot of time teaching Kamae to my students when they're going in for freestyle fighting. Some of them just naturally drop their arms and think they're fast enough that they can whip their hands up and punch the other guy as he comes in. Action beats reaction most of the time. So you're going to have to react real fast. Someone's coming at you like a train with a fist in front of them. Okay? So when I'm teaching Kamae, I teach orthodox stance, left leg forward. You can go right if you want. When you're doing freestyle, I don't care. That's why it's called freestyle. Okay? But I generally have the lead hand. So you just bring it back from the elbow, it should touch your upper cheekbone. And the lower hand should be about level with my lead elbow, so it can just go straight in. This is a good Kamae. Keep your elbows in tight, don't flare them. Don't have both hands on the same level, and don't have them down by your feet. You know, a lot of my fighters, when I'm running team coach, they'd always be shouting at them, get your hands up, right? Even if you accidentally block, it's still a bloody block, right? You're not getting hit. So this is what I mean. Also, when you're in Kamae, you're quite stiff. Now, later on, you stand in Shisentai. Shisentai is a natural stance. So everything should be relaxed. This enables you to move faster. I remember doing a seminar with Kase Sensei. Kase was a little short, dumpy man. He was based over in France. He was one of the first generation of JKA instructors that came over with Shirai, Anoida, Kase, Oichi. All of these guys came over and they just blew everybody away with the techniques. But his Kamae was amazing. And he said, take all tension from your body and only keep it around the tendon, which is the core, if you like, the lower core. So you drop your weight down, the lower core should be sort of tense, but it enables you to move, and you move from that point, okay? If you're going to drive, most of a technique will start from a muscle contracting, and then, you know, if your hands are loose, if your muscles are relaxed, you can move a lot faster. Right? If you stand there and your fists are all tight and everything else, it's going to be very, very slow, and it's going to wear you down really fast. So trust in your training, trust in your sensei. When he says relax, 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 and then go and build up your speed in this way. But it all comes from a relaxed position or shisentai or natural feeling, if you want. So that's number 17. I'm not really racing through these, but I am trying to cut them down a little bit. There's a lot more depth to every one of these precepts if you ever want to study them. Pick one that suits your fancy and go into it and try to think of it from the side of practicality, if you like, as well as philosophy. So number 18 is perform the kata exactly, okay? And combat is another matter. Now, that might not be the exact translation, but it's good enough, right? You perform your kata exactly because kata is training, the same as Kion is training. If you have a good instructor, he's going to make sure that your Kion is spot on, that you perform the technique exactly as he wants you to do, okay? And it's the same in the kata. The kata is just putting techniques into a flow form, but it's also giving you little packages of self-defense, if you like. Each kata contains, if you're thinking in your mind of a bunch of little envelopes on a table, and you open one, it's a self-defense technique. Then you open another one, it's a self-defense technique. But they're all in a structured row, if you like. They're all in a sequential row, so they follow one after the other. That's the way I look at kata. It's a series of ippons, if you like, within an envelope, and then you open the next one, you get another one. You may never be in a situation that presents itself exactly like you would expect it to when performing your kata technique. Very rarely will it happen like that. It's all what if. But if you learn the basics, you're going to get this great understanding of body mechanics, of fundamental, of how your body works, biomechanics, and also because you're used to moving slowly and flowing from one technique to another, you're going to have a lot more control over your body. It's going to give you a lot more confidence in how you move. It's not like just throw a single punch, hit somebody, and then go, oh, what do I do now? You know, some people hit people, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, and then they freeze because they don't know what comes next. If you do it intentionally, you keep hitting him till he can no longer hurt you. That's Sanshin. If it was unintentionally, you've already bowed. Just bow again and carry on. So, yeah, perform your kata exactly and to the best of your ability. You're going to learn a lot about yourself doing kata. You can push yourself right to the wall and even beyond, where you're just about sitting on the floor in a bunch of wet rags, which will be your gi when you're doing kata. Combat and outside confrontation, street fighting if you like, entirely different matter. Very rarely lasts more than a minute, a lot less. And there's a lot more determination in it. Let's go for number 19. Don't forget the employment or withdrawal of power. When to use power and when not to. The precept says, do not forget the employment or withdrawal of power, the extension or contraction of the body, the swift or leisurely application of techniques. Well, I don't think there should be a leisurely application of techniques, so I'm not sure about that translation. As far as I know, most of your techniques should be done as fast as you can, okay? I had an old buddy of mine passed away a long time ago. Steve Cattle, we used to call him Stumpy. And done a few seminars with Stumpy. He came over to Calgary and trained at my dojo many, many years ago before he passed away. And Stumpy, he was very good at kata, but he was an amazing fighter. He wasn't a fantastic kicker, but great punching, great timing, great distance. Also, if he got hold of you, you were in trouble because he was excellent at judo. But his favourite saying was, if it doesn't work fast, it doesn't work. So if you do it as fast as you can, and you make sure it works as fast as you can, okay? Now, I know in kata we'll do slow moves just to show that we're putting power into it. And, you know, there's a lot of kata where there's slow moves, and it looks pretty, especially if you're doing a WKF karate. They stand for like 5 seconds just to make sure you can see how good their stance is, okay? Stances are transitory, as we all know. You don't hold a stance when you're fighting. Very rarely will you see a classical stance in a kumite match. But if you want to watch and look for good classical stances, watch somebody like Frank Brennan. And especially if he's doing a Jodan Mawashi or something, his foot's absolutely flat on the floor, lets his hips do all the work, but the pressure's on the supporting leg, power's generated right through the floor and into the technique. The same if he drops down into a Gyakuzuki or a Kizami, everything is. Just for that split second, it's there. And that's where your kime should be, just in that split second, and then you move on to your next technique. Kime shouldn't be held, it's just going to slow you down. Just bear in mind that when you make kime, you're not transferring anything. There's some kind of people hold to this magical, esoterical thing that you're transferring power, even if you stop, say, 1/8 of an inch from the other guy, he's going to feel your power because you had such good kime. That's a load of rubbish. You can punch as hard as you like, as long as you stop before you hit the target or go through the target, you're not going to hurt them, all right? We use kime as a way of controlling our technique, and also enables us to stop the technique so we're not dragged forward with the full power of our technique, and one part of our body is not pulling another part of our body out of position or off balance. Okay? This is the function of kime. It comes from the verb kumutsu, which means to choose. So you choose, you go on or you come back and you go again. When to use power, when not to use power. You can put kime in there if you like. So that's number 19. Number 20, precept number 20, I've probably gone over a little bit with this, is be constantly mindful, diligent, resourceful. All right? So number 20, the original translation would be resourceful and ingenious in your pursuit. Always be thoughtful and resourceful would be a better translation. But you can put in pursuit of the way or be diligent, okay, whatever you want. Basically, what you should be doing is whether you're doing kata, kion, or kumite, is be thinking of what you're doing and putting your mind behind it. If you're doing kume, you should be thinking, is there a way I can add more power? Is there a way I can get more speed? How can I improve this? How can I reduce the tension in my body? How can I get my hips to initiate this a little bit better? Where's my trajectory going? Which is my target? What kind of vector do I need to make this powerful, strong, and effective technique? All of these things, small details, but these are what you should be thinking about. And then being resourceful is thinking how you can change, how you can employ that technique in a different way, and using your knowledge to overcome challenges in anything, really, in your training, your physical confrontations, or in your daily life. Because you should be thinking how you can be thoughtful and resourceful about the way karate affects you, okay? And if you're like me, I absolutely loved karate, always did, still do. I wish I could do a lot more. My body just won't let me at the moment, at this time in my life. But I would be doing karate even in front of a mirror in the men's room, okay? Finish in the men's room, wash my hands, dry my hands, and then I'd make about 3 or 4 shutos, give my shoulders a little shrug, and then I was ready to go, okay? You can do it in your hotel room, you can do it anywhere, if you're passionate enough, okay? I honestly believe that it's within everybody to be passionate about karate. So being resourceful, look how you can involve your everyday life in your karate, if you like, or involve karate in your everyday life. Also, if you want to apply it to kumite, how you can adjust your tactics on the fly, exploiting your opponent's vulnerabilities. If you're in the street, make the most of your environment, have a never give up attitude, and just see what you can do. So just be resourceful and be thoughtful, and you'll see how everything goes. Anyway, that's a quick run-through of the 20 precepts of Funakoshi. I hope it gives you lots to think about. Certainly gives me lots to think about. As I say before, it's just my opinion on any of these podcasts. So if you've got a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. Okay, take care.